morning, there seems to be a front runner in the race for Queens Borough President. City Councilman Donovan Richards is in the lead. He was up against former Councilman Elizabeth Crowley, retired NYPD Sergeant Anthony Miranda, City Councilman Costa Constantinides, and entrepreneur Dal Yin, all vying to replace Melinda Katz, who left the office earlier this year to take on the role of Queens District Attorney. And of course, there are still thousands of those absentee ballots yet to be counted. But Councilman Richards joins me now live this morning. Good morning to you and congratulations on your projected win.
Thank you. Good morning.
First off, let me ask you about any irregularities that you may have seen at the polling places, because we spoke with Assemblyman Michael Blake a little bit earlier, and he said there was a lot to be disputed out there.
Well, we certainly heard issues about some poll sites not giving out both ballots to voters and also voting machines that were broken. So there's clearly still a lot of work to be done at the Board of Elections, and we'll be following this closely as we move forward.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to this. It's quite a time to take on the role of borough president. Queens, as you well know, contains some of the neighborhoods that were hardest hit by the coronavirus, but also financially. So how do you plan to help in this recovery?
Well, I represent the Rockaways, a little over 1,000 constituents to COVID-19. So we're going to have a lot of work that needs to be done around looking at why these disparities existed, especially in Black and brown communities. Healthcare, housing, in particular, a lot of our workers are low-wage workers right here in Queens as well. You know, we run the city pretty much, and a lot of our communities were impacted heavily, but for this particular reason. So as borough president, we're going to look to address a lot of these systematic issues to ensure we're never back here again.
All right, talking about systematic issues, it is definitely a time of unrest, calls for police reform. What do you think can be done to improve relations between the NYPD and the Queens communities that they serve?
Well, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done, and we have to start by having honest conversations. You can't heal until you get in a room and you're able to talk about why we are where we are, why we are here where we arrived. You look at incidents like George Floyd, you look at Sean Bell, you look at Eric Garner, and we have a lot of work to do in the city to bring everyone together. But I'm confident that we are going to be able to bring the NYPD to the table. I believe this Thursday we're going to start to have conversations in the Rockaways with our community and the police department. And as the chair of public safety, we're going to be working very closely with Commissioner Shea, who I had a conversation with on Sunday on beginning this healing process. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I have to admit the police department needs to be able to come in and recognize that they have a lot of work to do to rebuild trust between the community and the police department.
I want to shift to affordable housing. You're big on that. So what kind of plans do you have in the works there?
Well, yes, affordable housing is I mean, you think about COVID-19, you think of how high the unemployment rate has become. You look at the plague that many NYCHA residents have had to endure for decades, and a $9 billion deficit. And this is why we're having these conversations around the NYPD's budget right now. We have to ensure that this city has a budget that reflects the priorities of addressing many of the systematic issues that got us here with COVID-19. It's no accident that the disparities that have historically existed in communities of color have certainly plagued these communities harder during COVID-19. So $1 billion, either we're looking at over-policing our city or we're looking at investing in the things that really matter. And I look forward to working with the Speaker of the Council in negotiating a budget that prioritizes communities of color as we move forward.
All right, Councilman Richards, thank you so much. Good luck. You are the projected winner. We'll continue to follow it. Thank you.
Well, every vote still has to be counted,
right.
And I want to put that out there. But I feel relatively good being up nearly 10,000 votes. But we want to make sure that we bring this borough together, that every voter in the borough of Queens knows that their voice has been heard through this process fairly. But I'm pretty confident that as we move through this process that we will hold the lead and we will unite this borough like never before.
We will be watching. Thank you so much for your time. Dan?
Thank you.